having. Cheers. Let me know what you guys are having. So, yes. All right, so where are we today? We are still in coronavirus land. We're still dealing with this crazy reality. I'm still homeschooling, but it's actually becoming more of we've sort of mastered finding some really great videos for the kids to watch, which is great. And then my cousin Cookie sends me like all this stuff. We listen to Auntie Michelle Obama, who reads to us every Monday. I think Lisa's on, but I want to wait for more people to come on before I bring her in. And so homeschooling is still not anything I really want to do, ever want to do. I will continue to commend teachers. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Lisa because she is in education. And I mean, I don't know, Lisa, I might have to advocate for, teachers. I don't know if you deal with, teachers to increase their pay. I know, don't kill me, sorry. But it's just, it's crazy. I have triplets, for those who don't know. Let me make sure Lisa's here. Let me make sure she's actually on. Lisa, you're not on. So you're going to go to my page, Barkue, and then click on my profile picture. So you can, once you follow me, then I'll be able to add you. I'll be able to bring you in. So do that, and then I'll be able to bring you in. I usually should see when you come on. So I think she's trying to join now. So people, tell me how you're doing. So somebody posted and said, stop coughing. Well, people joke. I drank wine. I joke. I can't help it if I have to cough. But what happened this week? Let's see. Oh, so in Liberia, it's actually been crazy because we actually had 2 heavy-duty, announcements of senior members in government that tested positive, our Minister of Justice and our Minister of Information. So we also lost the head of the Drug Enforcement Agency. So, and obviously since coronavirus, they've been having a series of high-level joint security meetings. So everybody's, now it's really everybody's in a panic. But I think, people are starting to really understand the seriousness. And being in a country like Liberia, one of the things is, people get up every day and they're just trying to survive. So aside from coronavirus, they have the hunger issue to tackle. So it's just been, it's kind of crazy. Okay, Lisa, I think you are on. So Lisa's on. I can't wait to bring her in. She is on. Oh my God, Lisa, you have some friends on here. So I'm going to actually introduce Lisa to you guys before I bring her on, because then we're going to talk to her. But I don't want her to stop me with the introduction because I don't want to miss a beat, because Lisa is somebody who I met in Liberia when she worked with RLJ Company. And for the Liberians on here, everybody knows RLJ Kendija and how big of a deal that was. And Lisa spearheaded that with her team when she was the chief operating officer and executive VP and then CEO for the RLJ companies. So let me tell you about Lisa. First of all, the what I love is when you Google Lisa, one of the first things that come up is this Washington Post article. And it says, Lisa Wardell walked into a meeting with 14 white male bankers and she ran the room. Now, you guys meet her. When you see her, you may not get that, but to get to know her doesn't shock me, because that's just who Lisa is. And I'm going to bring her on. I hope I can find her. Let's see. I know she's on here. Hi, Denise. My sister's here. Okay, Lisa's on. And of course, you guys know my husband's on, because he's stuck with me. Okay, Lisa, I sent you. It says waiting for Lisa Wardell. Robbie, we miss you in Liberia. Lisa, I think you have to accept me sending you a request. And my girl Marcel, of course, is on here. They stress me over wearing lip gloss. So we're waiting for Lisa. I did send her a request, so we're waiting for her. But so this week actually was pretty good. The kids still want to go outside. Uh, I'm still trying to figure out how to sort of navigate this, consistently. Some days are more consistent than others. Dealing with clients, pivoting business, adding this new platform that I know is probably selfish but personal for me. But it's been good. So again, if you want to talk to Lisa, please make sure that you send the questions. Lisa, do you see it says, wait, did I miss you? Okay, I'm going to send the request again, Lisa. I'm going to send the request again for you to join. So you should see it. Go live with Lisa. I hope you see it. I hope you see it. Oh, it says connecting.
I got it. Hey. Sorry, I had to enable my microphone for Instagram. Hey, Barkue.
Hey, Lisa. Oh, I miss you, Lisa.
I know, and what a time to be talking, but I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm so happy that you could find the time. You know what? Thank God for coronavirus, and there's some good in it. There's some good. This is where you find good in freaking COVID-19. If you can't find good at all.
That's right. That's right.
So so Cole is on here from your RLJ family. She was like, I'm not missing it, so she's on here. Let's see who else is on here. It's gonna be scrolling, but since you're on a little early, I really I planned for this. I want people to understand who my Lisa is, because Lisa is, you meet people, and when you're past the as Wendy Williams says, when you're a woman of a certain age, you're just looking at Tangelia's on here too. Hi, Tangelia. So, you meet people and you're just like, okay, it's work. We're going to work. This is great. I much respect. But then you never really expect to really connect. And I think what's been really special about you always is, I've just always been able to connect with you. And you've just always been such a source of encouragement. Maybe sometimes you probably don't even realize it. And I'm going to tell a quick story before I really get into my intro.
Don't enable Tangelia's microphone.
No, because everything will go haywire. Her and I actually had a crazy New York City night about a year or so ago. It was bad. I think it ended at like 5 a.m. But I got pregnant. So, I got pregnant, and Lisa, being Lisa and probably understanding her friend Barkue, says, okay, Barkue, I know you. And don't be thinking that you got to breastfeed these kids, don't put that pressure on you, because I know you're going to be trying to do everything right. And I don't know if you know how you offloaded this burden that because mothers can be judgmental, and just parenting will make you feel inadequate. Because I know even trying to breastfeed just one of them little people, I was like, they not lasting. I ain't got time. Plus, I need one. I can't do it with them. And then you start to feel inadequate. And so what you said to me just kept ringing. You were like, your kids will be just fine if they don't have some damn breast milk. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. I tried, but I got 7 weeks in. So, coming from you, of all people, that meant the world, because
it is the truth. And let me just tell everybody, I don't know who all is on the phone, but let me just tell you, they are all also going to survive homeschooling and not having, in my case, first grade.
Right. Gracie is in first grade.
I gotta tell you, it's as you know, Barkue, I have a bunch of kids, and so I literally have a freshman home from college who's asking me questions about macroeconomics, and I have a first grader who's telling me how to graph pineapples, apples, and bananas. Right? Yeah, okay. But what I would say, to the moms here is the same thing that I said to you about breastfeeding, which is take the pressure off yourself. They're going to be okay. I do a Friday video to my company. I have about 14,000 employees across the globe. And the number one issue right now is the pressure around homeschooling. You're trying to do your job. And, you know, I did this video today where I interviewed Grace, who's my first grader. She's 7, on how well I'm doing with homeschooling. Hysterical. I will make sure that you get it.
Please make sure I see it.
It's really funny. And let's just suffice to say that my company understands that I am feeling the pain with them. And, you know, we did this, and it was unscripted. I literally said to her, because her teacher signs in these things and says, turned in late. And I'm like, okay, really? So I go through this whole thing, and I'm like, Grace, you didn't take a picture on your iPhone? She's like, I don't have an iPhone. And you didn't upload that to your computer? She's like, I don't have a computer. And I'm like, then you didn't go to Google Classroom and upload that?
Right.
Late? And she's like, that's your responsibility. I'm like, hey, accountability. We care about that in my company. So we did this whole thing, and it really just shows the ridiculousness of a 7-year-old getting marked late on something that she has no idea how or when to upload. So whether they are in pre-K or, you know, college, everyone has different challenges, and you just relax because it's a long haul we're in for.
Yep. I have so, you know, the kids are 3 now.
Yes. That pre-K is really, the preschool is even tougher for my employees. Mm-hmm.
Girl, listen, 3 different personalities. Skylar is Beyonce. Piper is going to cure cancer, and KJ eats the food from his socks. So, I mean, it is
perfect.
Yes, it is. You know, it is what it is. So Carton and I, my husband and I, just decided, we found some videos, and they love to watch videos, and literally videos, educational videos are homeschooling. We've actually just logged into this thing like called Lingo Kids. They love it. I'm like, and then, you know, we got like the iPhones and everybody's good. So, but while Lisa's talking about her job, I really think it's important that people understand what this job is. So I'm going to take a moment, and I'm going to tell you guys about Lisa. I know some of y'all don't read. I know, like, my little post was really long, but it was really important. But I'll tell you about Lisa Wardell. She's the president and chief executive of Adtalem Global Education, a $3 billion for-profit education business in the USA. She previously occupied position as chairman with Christopher and Banks Corp, CEO, COO, executive vice president for the RLJ companies, director, executive vice president of RLJ, McClarty Landers Automotive Group. I'm going through all of this because I want you guys to understand when she's talking about her 7-year-old and her freshman in college, and there's more, and then there's a husband. She's on the board of the home improvement giant Lowe's, retirement clearinghouse. I don't even know what that is. I have to do research because, you know, because Lisa she just does things. American International Automobile Dealers, member of the District of Columbia Bar, member of the Business Council, member of the State Bar of Georgia, member of the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion, and member of the Executive Leadership Council. I mean, Jesus, Louise, this is Lisa. This is Lisa, and one of the most down-to-earth, ride or die people you will meet. She came to my wedding damn near trying to breastfeed.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Great wedding.
So,
well, I thank you for the kind introduction. What I would say is, I have a perch where I could answer some questions. So just to give you a feel, so Adtalem, it is U.S. Listed, but it's global. So we have offices and financial services education in Asia, all around Asia Pac, Australia, mainland China, etc., as well as Europe and Latin America and the US. So if people have questions about the curve and the crisis and how it is changing, and I'm seeing very positive things in Asia as an example. I'm happy to talk about that. I'm on the board of Lowe's Home Improvement, which is considered an essential business that has 1,800 stores throughout the U.S. and is about 350,000 employees. So I have a good sense of what they're going through, etc. I just saw a question. What about Liberia? Yes. So in
they're not even gonna let. They're just gonna let you talk. I'm just gonna let them do it.
Services business, it's so funny. I just hired, so we had, for those of you in Liberia, my second home, you know that people always dump Africa into what's called EMEA, which means you focus on Europe and put all the money there, and then Africa is the second thought, which is what was happening in my organization prior to me taking over. And so we just got a upskilling of students.
So Lisa, I lost you. I don't know if everybody else did. Lost
Okay.
you for the last minute, for the last 15
Okay.
seconds. So you talked about what was happening in Africa. So if you can say that again, just because
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody on here wants to hear.
Sure. So I just hired a president of EMEA on our financial services education side who will take seriously the Africa part of EMEA, not just Europe and the Middle East. So really excited about that. He started in January, so we'll be seeing that. The other things that we do that people may have questions about, so Adtalem owns the largest nursing school in the U.S. We have about 30,000 students and about 75,000 alumni. So we're putting about 850 new nurses into a very, as we know, stressed healthcare system in the U.S. Each year. And then we own two medical schools. One is in Barbados and one is in St. Martin. And those schools educate U.S. and Canadian doctors. And so we had about 920 doctors. Some of you may know who are in healthcare, that doctors were allowed to graduate early so that they could go into the health. And we have about 920 new doctors coming out of our organization. So any questions on the healthcare system, testing, vaccinations, return to work, education, happy to do my best.
So Lisa, thank you, because I'm sure we will have some, especially with the additional information that you just shared. But what I'm going to ask everybody to do, because I'll miss them if you guys put them in the comments, if you can put them in the question box, like there's a little question mark at the bottom of your screen, everybody, so I can try to get to them. Because one of the things that we did have, and I know that is important for people, is so apparently there's some feedback on your end, Lisa. I don't know how you fix it. I don't even know what that means. But you just answered some of it. So clearly your definition and how you're handling the new meaning of mastering the juggle is different than a lot of us, because you're having to navigate your graduating students, adjust adjust curriculum or graduation.
Right.
How much of what's happening with your nurses and your healthcare providers, and what role are you playing, from where you sit, with how they get integrated into, this craziness right now?
Absolutely. And maybe thank you for letting me know. I just put my AirPods in, so let me know if the feedback is a bit better.
It's better.
Excellent. So thank you for that feedback. So a couple of things. One is that the healthcare system is so strained, and healthcare workers need two things. One, they don't get to navigate this the way we do, as much as we're complaining, which is staying in the house, right? And so they need house care and child care and errand running. And so and there's several folks who are doing this, Johnson & Johnson, others are doing it, but our nursing school organization is called Chamberlain. We have hashtag care for caregivers, and I'll type this in, but we have COVID sitter programs in a lot of the major cities, and anyone can do it. We're doing it because we're a healthcare institution, and if you're a nurse, you can sign up and you can get someone to run your errands. Obviously it's harder around babysitting because you want to make sure, but these are people who've been tested and in quarantine, and so just some relief there. On the careforcaregivers.com website, we've got a lot of companies that have agreed to provide basically free things, free stuff to healthcare workers. So if you're a nurse or you're a doctor, if you know one, send them to that website. I'll type it in here. But Crocs, as an example, Crocs will give any nurse in the U.S. and
Wow.
globally for that matter, free shoes. So, that's something that yes, thank you. That is the hashtag.
Is there a website also? You said, is there a website also?
Same thing, careforcaregivers.com.
.com. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and you can see who's really giving back. Yeah, it's great.
That is amazing, because I think that's we've seen all these different videos. I mean, they're just like it breaks your heart when you see a father who's a nurse or a mother who's a nurse that can't really hug their kids, because it is. I mean, I can't even imagine. I freak out because we have like a pharmacist who actually is the head of the, I think, Maryland Pharmacists Association on here also. My friend and cousin through marriage, Aaliyah. But it is. I can't even imagine what they're going through. I know one of the things that I know people want to know before we get to the RLJs and the Liberia, because this is so important, is, as in your current role, how is your company navigating through the crisis? I know we talked about graduation early. What are some of the other things happening, not only with the healthcare workers, but in other areas? Because I know you're actually, you're a global, education company. How are you having to pivot? Or are you having to pivot right now? Clearly you are.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody is, right? And so there's a couple of things. One, this is not our first crisis. And in fact, when you think about Liberia, this is not your first crisis or even health crisis. So I think from that perspective, we were able to react pretty early. We have transitioned not only fully to remote work, but fully online education across all of our institutions. Sorry, lost my headphone. All of our companies and institutions, and part of the reason we were able to do that is because we always had online capability, because we are there for access to people who would not otherwise have the opportunity. So if you think about nursing as an example, we've always had evening classes online, because we're trying to get to those moms and dads who are working parents, have kids, etc. So that was a benefit for us. And I think that just in general, the education industry, while we're not ever any of us going to sign up for homeschooling, and I agree with you, I think we'll be looking at teacher salaries for sure. It will change the perception that because we're a minority or a woman with 3 kids, or we're trying to do 2 jobs and go to school, that our education is somehow less relevant. That's gone forever. And I can't be more pleased that will be an outcome from this crisis. There's no question.
That's a really, really important point. It actually has opened doors, I think, for a lot of women to understand how they can be that every woman, or, not necessarily put themselves and put their dreams off to the side because they're stuck at home, or playing a society, like an accepted role in society. But I think that's actually a very great point. So I did get some questions for you.
Okay.
And one of them were, they wanted to hear about your transitions in your career and your motivation for making certain decision, and what is your ultimate goal? Do you think you're there, or is there more, or what is that goal?
Wow. Okay. So I think in terms of my role, I just was made the hey, Lisa Renee. I just sorry, that's so distracting. It's so cool too.
No, but it's so cool. I love it.
I love
so
it.
Cool.
It's so much better than boring on Zoom conference call. I became the chairman and CEO of Adtalem a little less than a year ago. So I chair the board as well as run the company. And so I think from a career perspective, and it's a public company, and obviously I am able to navigate real change within, as you know, what's important to me, which is underserved communities, primarily minority, but underserved communities. But what I would say is I have a couple of legacy legacies that I still have plenty of work to do on. So if you think about, I am as you may have mentioned, I'm the only Black woman, certainly chairman, but chairman and CEO in the S&P 400, Fortune 1000. You can pick the list, and there are none, and there's two or three. Yes, there's two, every time I say that, and there's two or three Black men, Marvin Ellison at Lowe's, where I'm on the board, and literally two or three others, because we've had a couple of the Black males retire. So if you just take African American, that's leaving aside the broader Latino community, all of and Black community outside of African American. There is, just a dearth. And so my goal now is to develop people within my organization, much like my boss, Bob Johnson, has done and continues to do, so that we have those people in place and able to take the opportunities. That's really, really important to me. So if you look at my management team, I've been in this seat, it'll be 4 years next month. When I started, I had one diverse person, which of course was the woman who runs HR. She still runs HR, but that's typically diversity within a Fortune 1000 management team. And today I have two Black men on my management team, including my chief operating officer and general counsel. These are not junior people, and 4 women, including myself, and so 2 of whom are diverse. And so that has to be very intentional when you're doing it. And I think that those are the types of goals I have now, in addition to just expanding access and making sure that people are talking about and taking note of how things affect our community. So if you think about the broader global community, and you think about Latin America and African and the healthcare systems and what this current crisis means there versus other places, and then you think even within the U.S., how it's disproportionately affecting minority communities. So if you take the state of Georgia, just Blacks in the state of Georgia, about 21% of the population, 36% of the COVID deaths. That has to do with healthcare access and certainly testing. And you could say that across the board. Same in New York, which is of course the epicenter currently for the U.S. in COVID-19.
Wow, that's incredible. So interesting. I'm gonna actually. This is like probably a Liberia question. So right now in Liberia, we actually have 1 female in the Senate, like 1.
Yes.
And that's not a good. We just came from having a female president to now having 1 female in the Senate. And it's a lot of times the conversation is around, we need to rally around women. We need to rally around women. And hearing how intentional you are, or how thoughtful you are in making sure that you think about diversity in these different roles. What does it mean to you? Because the conversation and the I guess the argument in Liberia is, don't just put a woman, make sure that woman is qualified. And so what is your thinking around there? And what is Liberia, you did something in Liberia in record time.
So glad Corey's not on here. Yeah, exactly.
I thank God Corey's not on here. This would be a whole different conversation.
Right.
But what is your opinion on that? Should it just be women, or? And I think I know the answer, but I want to ask because I think other people sometimes push for, affirmative action sort of, ways to go and get women. But should we be going more for talent and then hope that there's a woman, or what is your thinking about that?
Look, you have to go for talent, and I'm gonna get there. But you have to go for talent, because if you don't, every time someone is in a seat and they fail, we go 10 steps back. And so for me, because I'm the only, I can't fail at this. I'm not gonna fail at it because I'm kind of good at this. But all eyes. I mean, you could have 50 white male CEOs of Fortune 1000 companies. It happens all the time. And they get really big payouts and they get fired. You pay them to fire them when you get to that level. Right. And nobody ever questions it. But if it's me, or if it, or even any woman, it gets a different level of attention. So that's part of it. But you then have to step back and say, okay, well, what else does that mean? One thing is we have to get rid of the things that people are perceiving are a talent gap for women that are not. So we tend to be, people hear this all the time, you know, less self-advocating. We don't pat ourselves on the back. We don't put our accomplishments out there. Men do. That does not mean that someone's not as talented. So we have to help our women get there, but we also have to say that has nothing to do with this. Another piece, I think, positive thing from COVID-19, you know, it's no longer, oh my gosh, do we think that woman is going to get pregnant or have young kids? Because guess what? The young kids, I'm surprised Grace hasn't been in here already, are coming into the conference calls on a daily
Yes.
basis for men
Yeah.
and women. So we're just
Exactly.
going to take that one off
Exactly.
the table because I am very, very effective and efficient with kids, right? So those, but then there are other things where women are not getting the opportunities they need. So this answers a little bit the former question. When you say to me, what were the decisions in my career? A lot of those were things that where I was forced into situations. What you'll find out is that men are forced into situations to learn new skills, and women are not. And so take Liberia as an example. I'll never forget when we finished that hotel, Bob said to me, I never thought you were actually going to get that done. You know, I was like, I mean, the last, 12 months of my life, I've been doing this because you thought I was going to get it done. He's like, there's
Right.
no way. He's like, there's no way you could get that done in 12
Right.
months, right? So he had pushed me into all kinds of situations. And so that's why when you look at his track record, he has Leslie Hale, who runs, a public REIT. He has Tom Baltimore, who's gone on to run Park Hyatt from his mentoring. And that's because we have been provided those opportunities. And I do it constantly. I know people who work for me probably drives them crazy. I do it constantly in my organization because that is the only way that you get over both the confidence piece and the fear. So there's those things that as a society we just got to get rid of, and I do my part on that. And then there's the other thing in terms of getting the talent ready. But you got to go for talent, or they'll say, see, that person who's a
Right.
woman
Right.
couldn't get it done.
And that
Yeah.
one woman who may have failed is not
Right.
equivalent to the 25,000 men that did not.
That's exactly right.
We're measured different. We're measured different.
That's right. That's right.
So I actually had so when you walk into these rooms, and I think one of the things that I appreciate, and I hope everybody else on here is paying attention to that, is you don't shy away from your success. You don't shy away from how amazing you are. You don't shy away from how you can deliver. You don't shy away from your accomplishments. But a lot of times women, especially Black women, we don't show up. We don't show up. We almost like, yeah, I'm trying, you're doing great. Oh, I'm trying. No, you're doing it. And is that something you worked on to get at, or is that just Lisa? Like, I mean, I have an idea, a glimpse of like your family a little bit, and and how supportive they are. But like, what do you? Because you have a daughter now, so
yes.
What are you what are you saying?
Yes,
like,
do.
How do you arrive at? I'm going to put myself in. Actually, there is a quote that I'm actually going to read. It says that you said, your life and the challenges you are overcoming are assets in your life. And, and taking risk and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Like, do you wake up every day and is like, okay, I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep pushing myself. I don't want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so look, I think you do have to get used to owning where you are and what you're doing. There's part of it, obviously, is personality, but I think any personality type whatsoever, because if you look at leaders, 50% of them are introverts, 50% are extroverts. I happen to be an extrovert, but that is absolutely the case. But what I would tell you is similar to that quote. What I have been starting to really drive home to women, and actually just minority kids who I'm trying to break through to, is you have to believe you belong in the room. And what happens is you get in rooms and you realize that everybody who's not diverse absolutely feels they belong in the room and should get a pay raise for being there. One. And
Right.
two, you start to figure out that you do know as much, if not more, than they do. And then once that clicks, right, and those things that you don't know, you don't opine on in meetings, which is what non-diverse people do all the time in general. It's a stereotype, but happens to be true. So once you have that, I think that you can drive sort of, again, you always have to remain humble. If when anyone says what made your success, I say, God, my family, Bob Johnson. I mean, everybody knows you don't get there yourself. There's no question on that. So it's not being arrogant, but it's just not only do I belong in the room, I add value when I'm in the room.
Yes.
And once you get that, it feels good about yourself.
Yes. I have to read a comment from Cole, who was one of your managers at RLJ. And she said, but she's also very humble. She makes all women feel empowered. I learned so much from her. And I actually second that statement, because I feel like, you probably are so unassuming. I mean, I started my nonprofit because of a conversation we had in the lobby of, RLJ, which you were always very supportive of. And so I think that's your I'm glad you said what you just said. It comes from somewhere, God, your family. So it's not about arrogance, but
Right.
It's about showing up. It's about, owning and knowing the value and who you are and whose you are, as well. So
yes. Right.
I think that's really, really important. And before they kill me, we have to talk about your experience in Liberia. You built a hotel in 12 months, girl, in Liberia. It was because of RLJ we were able to have the International Women's Colloquium, and how. And we've had this conversation, but I want everybody to hear this. Because now you're in global education, you went.
Yes.
How has working in a country like Liberia, even though how did that have any impact in sort of how you lead, especially from an educational standpoint now with where you are with your current role?
Yeah, the answer is absolutely, and I'll give you some of that. Hey, Carl, it's so nice to see you.
I know Ronnie's on here.
I know.
So we're gonna do a shout out 2 minutes before we go.
I haven't been there. I kiss your foot. I'm sorry. To use a Liberian term for you U.S.
Right,
people,
I kiss your
what? What? You know what? It is so funny that you say that, Barkue, because absolutely. So, what we did in Liberia, certainly in the time frame, but with not all the resources. Remember, it was a very different time then. We were the first folks to come in and build something, really post, all of the trauma that the country had been through. And so few resources, really hard transition, supply chain, logistics, great team on both sides, on the Liberia side as well as the U.S. side, but really difficult. What people may not know is that 2 years ago in 2017, the two medical schools that I mentioned, both of those medical schools were hit with, in the span of 2 weeks. I don't know if everybody remembers Hurricanes Irma and Maria, those in the U.S. May. One of them hit Category 5, direct hit to AUC in St. Martin. And we had to evacuate, 2,000 people and pets. And then 2 weeks later, direct hit from the other one that then also destroyed Puerto Rico, if you'll recall, 2 weeks apart. And I remember thinking at that time, now I know why I was under so much stress in Liberia and why that happened, because my ability to function and react, and no loss of life, 3,000-4,000 people, getting them out of decimated islands, charter flights, just really, really difficult. And then, this is week 7 for us for remote work. And as I reflect on this crisis, I was telling someone the other day, I was doing an interview, and they're like, what got you ready for this in terms of resiliency? And I said, I used to ask God all the time, okay, 1 hurricane, I got it, 1 medical school, but 2 destroyed both of my medical schools literally in 3 weeks. They're both now relocated. But now I know why. And it's because, this crisis, I'm like, okay, this is what we've got to do, roll up our sleeves and get it done. And so I think that those things, I guess the message is, as things are happening, and everything is happening to us all right now as it relates to COVID-19, we got to do a couple things. You got to say, What am I supposed to learn from this that I can take forward? What are the opportunities and challenges, right? So I have my team challenged to say, what are the new revenue streams? What are the things that we can
Yes.
do
Yes.
from this? There's all sorts of things. I mean, if you think there's not going to be great startups around, childhood education tactics and preschool and all of those things, right? You're crazy. That's going to happen. And then third, like, what are the good things and the good outcomes from this, whether you are going through this crisis, is shelter in place alone, and you're alone, you don't have the social connections. What can you get from this? Or you're going through it with people that you'd rather not see every day for the next however many weeks.
Right.
It's been so long. But what can you take out of that? So that would be my answer to that.
My joke is, I think people are even going to start choosing their spouses different because they're gonna be like, wait, just in case I have to be stuck in the house,
right?
Are you that one? We're going to start measuring that different. I think, another question that somebody had, I actually think this is important because, it's like, what advice do you have for parents who have limited access to internet and books during these long months of homeschooling, or even just for work or trying to find means to survive? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, so let me start with the education, and then I'll move to the financial, because the financial distress is really, really difficult for a lot of families, especially those that had two working parents, and neither of whom are working now, which is happening across the globe. So in terms of education, I would say a couple things. One is that I have really, and we have access to internet here, so we are lucky with that and the technology. But I got to tell you, for those of you who don't really hear this, the kids get bored really easily with that. And even if you're someone who limited screen time, which I was, after a couple of hours, and certainly after this number of weeks, that's not what they want to do. So I don't want you to feel like your kids are missing out and not getting what they need, because it's just not true. Right? Because the kids who have access, they just don't want to do that anymore, So I think a couple of things. One is outside, particularly, actually it was raining today, and we've learned to go out and play in the rain too. But one is
Liberia
outside.
raining season prepared you for that.
Yes, exactly. So I think one is outside and really rediscovering outside. I don't care if it's, literally the plot in front of your house. There's so many things that for kids, obviously depending on the age, that you can do. Another, especially if you have, the kids are slightly older, so you can't get them into looking at bugs or frogs or anything like that. There is definitely cooking. Right, and helping them. Remember, we used to sit and watch people cook and learn to cook. That's a big one. I also think that this is a time for accountability. I don't care if they're 3. It's harder when they're 3, but 3 or 23. Listen, everybody needs to do all the chores. If you weren't doing it before, this is the time for you to put that. Look, mommy, and even mommy and daddy can't do it all, but especially if it's single mom or single dad, can't do it all. This is what you are responsible for doing, whether it's vacuuming, and listen, that takes patience, particularly if you have younger kids. I mean, Grace, she loves to Windex, and I guarantee you there is nothing clean about any window or mirror in my house when she's finished Windexing. Right? So you got to determine, is this going to be about learning, or is it going to be about cleaning? It won't be about both. Right. But you did ask me about keeping them, safe and on track.
There you go.
There's that. On the financial side, look, I think there's a couple of things. One, and I have a lot of folks, even those who are still employed with me, but their spouse has lost their job. Right. And then I know a lot of people who are sort of, freelance consultant, and all that stuff has dried up if they served the small business market. So I'd say a couple things. One is, now is the time to look at your budget and be able to say, what can I cut out? Because guess what? I just cut it out for the last 6 weeks. Right. And so what can I cut out? The second is around, you're probably getting some real revelations. And if you're not, make sure that you do look at it going forward, around your entertainment, travel, food budget, right? It's very different.
I just did something crazy. I don't know what I did. Keep talking. I can
I don't
hear
know.
you. So they can hear
Okay,
you. So you keep
I
going.
can see and
I'll
hear
figure
me.
out what I
Okay,
did. I have no
perfect.
idea.
So I think now's the time to look at that for sure. And then just, understanding that we are going to get a new normal. This is going to come back. There are businesses and industries that need more help than less right now, and it's all about being able to connect with that. So if you do have access to internet, or you have a friend that has access to an internet, even though you don't, there's lots of things that people are asking for. So to give you a concrete example, because I know that's hard to follow, those companies that do live stream and content development, they just can't get enough people, and they don't want to hire people full time right now, right? Because things are going to go back to normal. You can find them on some of the job sites and just put in some hourly time and make some money that way during this time that it would not be an opportunity otherwise. So that would be, audiovisual live stream, conferencing companies that do virtual conferences, marketing. People are having to change, even though they're cutting marketing costs. One of the things that you'll see across business and globally now is that people are furloughing and letting go of people at the same time as they are hiring and contract working people. Exact same companies. You typically do not see that. We're seeing it now. So now's the time to get out in the market. If you don't have the computer, have someone else to help you do that, to find that those opportunities to make some money in the meantime.
I think those are amazing. I think that's some amazing advice. I also think one of the things I actually got from all of what you said also is just really approaching it almost like the glass half full approach. Because as long as you're here, you can figure out ways and there are opportunities that, yes, may not be what you would like or what you're accustomed to, but there really are opportunities that can come out of, this situation right now. And I think that's probably the attitude, as well as taking those steps, looking at your budget, instead of just saying I can't do it because I can't have it this way, finding ways to adjust to where it can happen. People are Ronnie, my friend Ronnie's on here giving information on how people can get like $9.95 internet.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And there's so much. But before I let you go, before I get killed, even though in the next 15 minutes, Instagram will cut us off. But two things. One, the role of a sponsor in your career. Have you had, what's the role of a sponsor? And also, what's the difference between a sponsor and a mentor?
Yeah, so get asked that a lot. A mentor is somebody that can help you with the direction of your career and really help you understand you, right? So what are your blind spots? Where do you need to be more self-aware? Where do you need to build EQ? Where do you need actual tangible, skills? And to help you work through what would you be good at? What are you best at? And that's where you want to focus. A sponsor is clearly somebody who is within your organization, or if you're an entrepreneur, within your sphere of influence, who can speak for you in a positive way when you are not in the room. So for me, that is, in a boardroom where, they're having independent session, I'm not in the room. There better be somebody in there who, can advocate for me. And that person, that sponsor, is not somebody like a mentor who you tell when you're having like a really bad day, especially if you have them every, Tuesday and Friday, right? That's the person. EQ is like IQ, but it's emotional. So how do you come across somebody? Sorry, asked that on the
Yes, Ronnie asked
on
it.
the feed, right? How do you come across to others? Do you appear empathetic? Do you understand subtleties? So I have people on my team, no subtlety, like this is what you need to do. There's other people who understand the difference between a suggestion and a suggestion that you really need to take. That's EQ.
Got it. Lesson. And then lastly, before I let you go, is what are the top 3 lessons that you've learned in your career?
Okay. Number one, it is better to be collaborative than to be right, even when you are right. Because if you're right and you can't convince anyone else you're right, it does not matter. So that's one. The second is that, and this really goes to what we're talking about today, homeschooling and everything else. You're not always going to be on. You're not always going to have a good day. It's okay to, have a breakdown, a cry down, a wind down, whatever it is. You just need to, one, know when it's coming on. Like, I know when my stress level, where it is and what I need to do, whether it's go for a run, drink wine, do both. You need to know when it's coming on, and you need to know how to manage that. And then I think the third is, the greatest skill that you can have, and anybody can have it, but I guarantee you, if you build this skill, you will go really far in your life and your
Get your
career.
pencils,
And that,
people. I'm about to write
get
this
your
one down.
pencil,
Get your pencils.
ability to accept and act on constructive feedback.
Yes.
If you can do that, you will go far. And it is hard. And as someone who used to be this is who said this, if it's anonymous, I'm trying to figure out who said that about me. And here's why they said it, but it was one incident and it's not really me. Once you say to yourself, yep, that's really me. And you think of a plan, it changes. And sometimes that can happen in a very, sudden sort of way that really is hard for you, and sometimes it's over time. But if you can do that, the sky's the limit.
I can tell you that is something that I think, because I've been a small business entrepreneur for over 15 years. I think I want to say 20, but I'm not going to do that because that would just, put like some numbers onto my life. And I'm a new mom of 3-year-olds.
Right.
So
several years, just go with several years.
Right. But I think, in the past 2 years, I think that those tips are things that are exactly the things that I think I'm focusing on. And it really is starting to make a difference in how I collaborate, in the clients I find myself, working with. I've also, I think, becoming a mom, I'm very intentional about who my clients are, because now I don't just want to check. I want purpose. That's what MBL is now, is purpose, impact, and results. Like it's got to be something that ties into my bigger picture as much as it is something that I'm, adding value to in terms of somebody else's vision. But it is collaborative. It is being able to understand that, okay, I got to shut up sometimes. Like, I know I come in there with this big personality, but you do get so much more out of that listening and understanding when the feedback is constructive, and not vindictive. I hope you guys wrote that down, because I'm gonna try to share that with you again. But that's amazing, and I am going to, let's see if we can do shout outs, because I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't know if you remember Rosie. Rose is on here saying hi.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hey.
She's got this amazing business right now.
I am going to add one thing, and then
yes,
I'll
please.
And that is, I'm still working on all of those. So I know it's funny. I just did it. So one of my really bad habits is I interrupt, and now I know to say, "Hey, the lipstick is Rihanna Fenty Beauty," just in case anyone wants to get it. Got to shout out for my girl when I can.
Right.
But now I at least say, I'm so sorry I interrupted you. I do that when I get excited about an idea or wanting to tell you something, but I shouldn't, and I'm sorry. Like, I'll never stop interrupting, but I will come with myself to say, I recognize I did that, and that's not right.
That's funny. So Marcel is on here, who works with me, and she's like, that's totally Barkue. My husband Carton is like, yep.
Yeah, we are like the same person, actually.
You know what? He's gonna go sleep with the kids tonight. I am the queen of it. But that's also because my brain, like my bandwidth, will let go of and so I work on it. Carton, you know what? My cousin Nima's on here. I'm gonna let him get to you too. But that's me, and I learned to shut up in the last, probably the last 16 months, and working. But I also think sometimes it's who you actually are aligned with and who you're working with, because sometimes being in Liberia, sometimes it really is tough to sit and listen to the nonsense. Although I have to say, I shouldn't call it nonsense all the time, because one of the things that I have learned from living in Liberia, as long as I have now, is whether I like it or not, or whether I think my way is right or not, is these people were in this country way before I came back, and they know how to navigate this arena. Maybe not to the way I want it, but it helps you understand how to even communicate with them. So, I guess it's still true what you just said. So I will let that go. But I will learn, people. I will learn. Thank you, Lisa. I will learn to stop interrupting. I will try. I will pray about it, and I will work on it. I will be better. 2020. That's one of the things that I will add. My husband is.
I see. He's really happy. That's so
He talks too
funny.
slow. I need him, I need him speeded up. Lisa's on here too. My other friend Lisa is on here. But before they cut us off, are there any last words, any shout outs, anything you want to say? How's Charles, by the way?
He is fine. He is not on here because he's keeping everybody busy so that I can focus. He's doing fine.
Tell him I said thank you.
I will. And I will tell you, my last words are, Barkue, you are such a motivator to me. I'll take the interruptions. You really changed my life in my time in Liberia, just watching you work and hustle and think, strategically and out of the box, and nothing stops you. And girl, I gotta tell you, you are an inspiration to me, which is why I can't tell you how many, they're not as fun as this, but interviews and stuff. And that's why when you say, how about next Thursday? I'm like, of course. And, that is something that I think you probably bring to everybody, certainly on this feed. But I got to tell you, it's worth a lot. It's worth a lot of weight in gold. I know Tanjalia, others on this call would echo that. So I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing. You are a true boss lady.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. I don't take your friendship, I don't take it for granted. I take all of my moments with you, to heart, because I always walk away. Sorry, guys. I don't know why they ended up, because I got on a little early. Sorry, guys. They ended me early. I think because I got on like 3 minutes early trying to, get it all together. Let me see if Lisa's back, and I'll pull her back in, and we can close if she gets back on. She commented on the post. She may not get back on. I know, right? Marcel, IG is just rude. That they are. I don't know if she can get back on. Can I send it to her? I don't know. But in case she doesn't get back on, I just want to say a huge thank you to Lisa for taking the time, because as you guys heard, clearly her mastering the juggle is a little bit different from others, but we're all trying to find ways to stay productive, positive, do our parts. And she has God knows how many thousands, 14,000, I think she said, employees globally. And, some of them in healthcare and them having to adjust. And then also trying to be that resource for her team. So I think that we can all learn. I hope we took notes, because that was, I know for me was, but again, talking to Lisa, who I'm blessed to call a friend, is amazing. But since I have a little bit of time, I'm going to shout some people out. Rosie, I see you. Jessica, the Catch Me If You Can. You guys need to follow her. I'm going to drag her on here soon. Liz, my sister Helen, of course, my sister Denise. My sister's sister Denise is on here. She's probably going to take notes and tell me all the things and all my grammatical errors and things, because that's her job. Jessica. Who else is on here? Marcel, of course, Charlene, Auntie Sheila, Nima. Then, of course, Donnell. You guys, Donnell is on here. Say hi to Donnell Jones. Hi, DJ. I miss you so much. We need a serious catch-up. Ronnie's on here from my music industry days. Who else? Of course, Marcel is on here because she's stressing me. She's my producer. They tried to fire her today, and she said no. But I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I just want to say thank you again for joining. We will see you next Thursday. I really appreciate you guys sending in the questions. Cookie, hope you got filled, because you were really awesome with helping me prepare for this conversation. And I want to thank Lisa again for joining. And, please follow her. She's amazing. She's fantastic. And I look forward to connecting with more.